Knock your head Offset. Knock your head Offset. Knock your head Offset. Yeah, knock your head Offset.
That crowd is clowning Offset to his face. 6 years later, 10 words from Rylo Rodriguez dragged this clip back from the grave, and Offset banned him from a whole city overnight. Rylo hit back with one line.
Man, you crazy as hell, bro. Nigga, they don't know this. You the one on some publicity.
The internet split, but the word that really stung Offset ain't the one you think. Let's get into it. The beef. Offset is trending again, and this time it is over one bar on another man's album. Clips of him going off are all over Instagram, TikTok, and X, and people keep asking the same question. What exactly got caught on camera? The answer starts with Rylo Rodriguez saying his name on a song, and with Offset responding in a way that lit the whole internet up. What that footage shows, and what it connects back to, runs deeper than one lyric. So let's get into the footage of Offset and Rylo Rodriguez that has everybody talking. It starts on July 3rd, 2026, when Rylo Rodriguez drops his third album, SKATE, which stands for Silence Keeps All Targets Exposed. The project runs 23 tracks deep, carries features from Lil Baby and Kevin Gates, and lands at midnight, which means fans are combing through the lyrics within hours the way rap fans always do. Track 10 is a song called Eliza, Bless Me Up, and buried in that song is a line that changes Rylo's whole week. Free bands. I'm locked in with Casino, but I'm not Offset. Hold that bar in your head because it is one single sentence and every name in it matters. Free bands is Future's label. Casino is Future's brother, and Offset is, well, Offset. Rylo tells you he is locked in with Casino, then adds that he is not Offset. And that is the entire mention. The song keeps rolling and the album keeps rolling, but the internet grabs that one line and refuses to let it go. By the early hours of July 4th, the bar is circulating on X and Instagram with fans tagging Offset under it, some posting laughing emojis and others asking out loud whether it counts as a diss. And then Offset sees it. He does not respond with a song or an interview. Instead, he goes straight to his Instagram stories and starts posting one story after another while fans screen record every second of it. This right here is the footage. In one story, Offset writes, "Here's some clout pussy. You Nas can't come to ATL. No more you Alabama ass. Nah, you a country nigga and went against your own people." With a single post, the man bans Rylo Rodriguez from an entire city over one bar. And he keeps going, taking aim at Rylo's face in the next story. Benjamin Button disease ass nah, aging backwards ass nah, before rounding out the morning by targeting the album itself. You ain't gonna sell more than 10K pussy. That is a first week sales prediction posted to stories on the very weekend the album dropped. Within minutes, screenshots are all over X, with Big Bedmas posting the full set and Say Cheese posting the Atlanta band, while TikTok and YouTube chop everything into clips and shorts. By the afternoon of July 4th, Offset Rylo is a search term all on its own, and the clips have become the story. Rylo responds the same day, and he refuses to match the energy. Instead of a story rant, he sends a single DM shared publicly by the page Heart of the Streets that reads, "It ain't on no diss nigga, you the one on some publicity." In one line, Rylo says it was not a diss and flips the accusation right back, painting the man who banned him from Atlanta as the one chasing attention. Then Rylo goes to his own story and addresses the sales prediction, reportedly saying that even 10,000 units in the first week would be solid compared to Offset's recent numbers. That one lands differently, because now both men have swung at the other's numbers. Through July 4th and into July 5th, the whole thing peaks with reaction videos flooding YouTube, Instagram pages posting recaps of the exchange, and Facebook pages like Traps and Trunks running polls. Some fans report that Offset deleted the stories, but the screen recordings were already out, and once the internet has something, deleting it does nothing. Independent commentators start weighing in as well, and a lot of them play the song for themselves before picking a side. That becomes the pattern. People hear about the ban first, go find the bar second, and come back with an opinion third, and those opinions split hard. The hot new hip-hop write-up frames it as Offset banning Rylo from Atlanta after a perceived diss, and that framing sticks. Keep an eye on the word perceived, because we are coming back to it. And here's the part that turns this from a footnote into a story. Offset is one of the biggest names Atlanta has produced in the last decade, while Rylo Rodriguez is an Alabama artist signed to Lil Baby's 4PF, respected for his pen, but nowhere near Offset's profile. A simple shrug would have killed this within the hour. Instead, Offset gave it his whole morning, 3 separate stories, and a citywide ban, handing Rylo the biggest promo moment of his album cycle for free, which raises the question everybody in the comments kept asking. Why did that specific bar get under Offset's skin like this? The answer is buried inside one word in that line, and that word is casino inside the bar. To understand why this blew up, sit with the bar itself, because it is a machine with moving parts. On the surface, it reads like a simple association flex, with Rylo claiming genuine ties to Atlanta royalty through Future's camp. Then comes the turn, but I'm not Offset. 5 words, and every one of them is load-bearing, because casino is a person, but a casino is also a place. And Offset's relationship with casinos happens to be one of the most publicly documented struggles in modern rap. The line folds both meanings into a single breath. Rylo is locked in with Casino the Man, but he is not Offset, the man who got locked into casinos. What you have there is a double entendre with a body count, and the body is Offset's reputation. Now, does that automatically make it a diss? Hip-hop has a long, decorated history of the subliminal, the name drop with plausible deniability, the bar that can be read two ways, so the rapper can always claim the innocent reading. The craft lives in the ambiguity. Instead of saying something direct and ugly, Rylo built a line where the insult gets assembled in the listener's head rather than on the page. The listener brings the knowledge of Offset's gambling and completes the joke himself, while Rylo just lays the pieces next to each other and walks away whistling. One commentator broke down where the line sits on the disrespect scale. That framing matters because harder versions of that bar were sitting right there on the shelf, and Rylo picked the softest one, the version with an exit door built in. When the heat came, he used that exit door immediately, telling Offset directly that it was not on no diss. Plenty of fans took him at his word, arguing the bar was neutral wordplay about affiliations, the kind of name flip Rylo does constantly across his catalog. But here's the counterweight, and it deserves a fair hearing. Rylo is a professional writer with one of the most respected pens in his lane. He knew Offset's history when he wrote that line, and he knew precisely what the word casino would summon in the mind of anybody who follows hip-hop news. Nobody accidentally builds a double entendre around the most publicized weakness of a specific named man, so the deniability was constructed rather than incidental. That does not make it a war declaration, it makes it a test, the kind young artists have always run on established names to see whether the big dog barks. There is even a neon sign hanging over the whole episode, because SK8TE stands for Silence Keeps All Targets Exposed. The man named his album after the idea that targets expose themselves through their own noise, then dropped a quiet, deniable bar and watched a bigger artist make all the noise for him. So the bar sits in a gray zone hip-hop built on purpose, sharp enough to sting and soft enough to deny, which puts the ball entirely in Offset's court. He had exactly two options: laugh it off and starve it, or react and feed it. Everybody with a phone watched him choose the second option at maximum volume, with a city band attached, which means the real question was never what Rylo meant. The real question is why the word casino hits Offset like a physical blow. And to answer that, you have to open the books on the most expensive habit in Offset's life: the casino files. The gambling story is no rumor pile. It is a documented trail of receipts, lawsuits, and public confrontations stretching back years. Whispers about Offset and casinos floated around through the peak Migos era, but for a long time, it stayed in the category of rich rapper gossip. Then January of 2025 arrived, and the gossip grew a face, a name, and a dollar amount. The name was Lil TJ. The New York artist came out publicly and accused Offset of owing him $10,000 money. He said he loaned Offset during a casino visit, and the details were the brutal part. TJ described watching Offset panicking at the tables, asking strangers for Cash App transfers just to keep gambling. He called him broke, said the man had a gambling addiction, and when the repayment allegedly never came, he took the whole story public. Offset's response set the template we just watched him repeat with Rylo. He got loud, he got personal, and he challenged TJ to a fight on a live stream. No settlement, just volume. Then it stopped being subtext. In April of 2026, Offset was shot in the leg outside the Seminole Hard Rock Casino in Hollywood, Florida, and Lil TJ was arrested on disorderly conduct charges in connection with the incident, though he denied direct involvement. Sit with the geography of that sentence, because a dispute that began inside a casino over casino money ended with gunfire outside another casino. Reports even said Offset was back in a casino shortly after, reportedly in a wheelchair. If you were writing a character study on compulsion, you could not invent a cleaner detail. The paper trail kept growing too, with Motor City Casino in Detroit suing Offset for roughly $100,000 in unpaid gambling credit, plus smaller debts claimed by Ebro and Days Bryant. Each story is small on its own, but stacked together they paint a pattern of a man who bets constantly, loses often, and treats repayment as optional, to the point where commentators were no longer calling him a gambler. They were calling it an addiction on air by name. Now take all of that and read Rylo's bar one more time. I'm locked in with casino, but I'm not Offset. The bar never mentions gambling, and it does not need to, because every person who followed the TJ saga, the lawsuit, and the Florida shooting hears the whole file in one word. Rylo never wrote an insult. He wrote a trigger, and the ammunition was already stored in the audience's memory. It also explains what Offset's stories attack: Rylo's region, Rylo's face, and Rylo's sales. Everything except the substance of the bar. He never said the implication was false. He simply went around it, loudly, the way people go around things they cannot rebut. And in an exchange where one man's 10 words implied something while the other man's 3 stories denied nothing, the implication won by forfeit. This is where the Rylo situation stops being random and starts looking like a rerun, because the TJ beef is the closest parallel in Offset's whole history. Both started with another artist publicly attaching Offset's name to gambling, and in each case he skipped the music and went straight to raw confrontation, while the target of his anger walked away with a visibility boost. The difference is cut in Rylo's favor though, because TJ came armed with an actual loan and an actual grievance, while Rylo only has a metaphor. And where TJ escalated for over a year until real bullets flew, Rylo sent one DM and went back to promoting his album. Offset brought TJ-level heat to a situation carrying none of the TJ-level substance. The reaction was sized for a debt collector, and it got aimed at a wordsmith. It fits a wider pattern too, from the 2019 shouting match with Chris Brown to the tensions inside Migos that eventually healed, because Offset is reactive rather than strategic. There is one more casino in this story though, and this one is not about money at all. The word Rylo dropped so casually also points at a piece of old footage that fans dug up the moment this beef started trending. Footage that has nothing to do with Rylo Rodriguez and everything to do with the man Rylo is signed to. The 4PF Shadow, the footage in question, is old, grainy, and famous in Atlanta rap lore. It dates back to around 2020, and it allegedly shows the aftermath of a dice game dispute between Offset and members of 4PF Lil Baby's crew. Blogs claimed Offset got into it with Lil Baby's people, possibly over a dice game or money involving 42 Dugg, and that the situation ended with Offset allegedly confronted and stripped in a parking lot before reaching safety. Lil Baby denied the whole thing flat, calling it fake news, and no charges, confirmations, or clean video ever surfaced. But clips connected to that era never stopped floating around, and the moment Rylo's name hit Offset's stories, fans went digging for them all over again. One of those clips captures the dice game energy itself, the environment where all of this allegedly started. Listen closely to what gets shouted at the end, because the crowd in the room makes it unmistakable. That phrase became a chant, and other recirculated clips from the era carry the same tension, passed around with captions claiming they capture pieces of the Offset and Lil Baby situation. Why would this ancient history matter to a 2026 beef? Because of one fact: Rylo Rodriguez is signed to Lil Baby's 4PF. The label whose crew allegedly ran Offset out of a dice game in 2020 is the same label whose artist just used Offset's name as a punchline. And for fans who kept receipts, this never read as an isolated bar, it read as round two. One commentator connected those dots on camera within a day of the story's drop. The history between Offset and Lil Baby gives that reading real bones, because the two came up under the same quality control umbrella, where academics and others have long argued that Lil Baby's explosive rise shifted the label's priorities away from Migos, breeding quiet resentment. Fans read Lil Baby tracks like All On Me as containing shots at Offset, and cryptic posts got dissected for years, including a 2024 moment where misread Instagram posts had the internet declaring war before sources shut it down. Lil Baby himself has denied beef with Migos repeatedly and directly, and to be fair, nothing in the Rylo situation shows him lifting a finger. He has stayed completely out of it. But street politics do not require participation to cast a shadow. So when a 4PF artist name drops Offset, the culture supplies the backstory on its own. Look at Offset's own words again, where he called Rylo a country Alabama artist who went against yo own people. Went against that is loyalty language. And it tells you the sentence was never really about a lyric, it was about side. Underneath all of it sits a heavier layer, one that fans approached carefully but could not ignore, because dice games are not abstract concepts in Offset's life. Takeoff, his groupmate, and his family was killed in November of 2022 outside a Houston bowling alley after a dice game dispute turned into gunfire, and Offset's grief from that night has been public and raw. He described the pain as unbearable, said his heart is shattered, and admitted he coped through denial. Some fans speculated openly that this grief colors his reactions, suggesting that any bar orbiting casinos and dice pokes at a wound that never closed. Let's be clear about what that is. Speculation. Rylo never mentioned Takeoff, Offset never connected the two, and no evidence ties the bar to that tragedy. Still, when fans asked why a proven hitmaker reacted to a wordplay bar like a declaration of war, some landed on the simplest human answer. Maybe the word does not just remind him of debts, maybe it reminds him of loss. So by July 5th, the picture had layers stacked on layers. A deniable bar, a documented gambling file, an old crew rumor with viral footage attached, a label connection nobody could unsee, and a grief story humming underneath it all. Which brings us to the last stretch of this story, the one the title promised from the beginning, the footage itself, and what all of this noise actually was. The verdict: the fan reaction split into two armies almost instantly. On one side, the pro-Rylo camp argued the bar was harmless wordplay, and that Offset committed the cardinal internet sin of taking bait that was barely even bait, with the R-Atlantology thread turning into a straight roast session. The Benjamin Button line flipped into memes, and the Atlanta ban becoming a running joke about visas and checkpoints. On the other side, the pro-Offset camp saw a young artist using a bigger name for attention and receiving exactly the response that disrespect earns, because in their reading, the deniability was the disrespect, and a country artist from Alabama flexing on an Atlanta legend needed correcting. For that camp, the ban was never fragility. publicity, it was enforcement. The sales prediction became its own sub-battle, and it did not go well for the man who started it. Offset's 10,000 unit jab was designed to belittle, but jabs about numbers invite audits, and Rylo's reported counter, that even 10,000 would look respectable next to Offset's own recent output, turned the insult into a mirror. Commentators piled onto the same point, openly questioning whether a man in Offset's current commercial position had the standing to weaponize sales at all. That was the middle ground, fans with no dog in the fight, and even they were shaking their head. When your neutral observers are telling you to do better, the optics battle is over, and in a beef with no diss track, the optics battle is the only battle there is. Between the two armies, the theory economy boomed, with some fans pushing the double entendre and trauma angle, others running with the publicity stunt theory, the lyrical skill crowd arguing Rylo's pen simply exposed Offset's insecurity, and rap battle speculators fantasy booking an exchange that never materialized. Every theory got engagement, and not one got confirmation. What can be measured is who profited. SKATE got a visibility spike money cannot buy, while Rylo's underdog image came out polished, because the man who sends one calm DM always beats the man posting serial rants at sunrise. Offset predicted the album would not sell, then spent 48 hours personally advertising it to every hip-hop fan in America. Silence keeps all targets exposed was the thesis, and Offset volunteered as the proof. As for what happens next, the incentives point toward nothing, because Rylo profits most from staying calm. Offset gains nothing from dissing a smaller name, and Lil Baby and the free band's orbit have zero upside in getting involved, which is why the prevailing fan prediction was a fizzle rather than a war. Sparks like this only become infernos when both sides keep feeding the fire, and here only one side ever picked up wood. There is no fight video or confrontation clip in this story, because Offset and Rylo Rodriguez have never been captured on camera together in any altercation. The viral footage is a package deal assembled by the internet, made up of screen recordings of Offset's Instagram story rants, screenshots of Rylo's DM response reaction clips from commentators, and recirculated old footage from the 2020 Dice game era that involves Lil Baby's orbit, not Rylo at all. The heat is real, the words are real, and the beef is real, but the footage going viral is stories, screenshots, and archival clips stitched together by momentum, not a camera catching two rappers face to face. As of July 5th, 2026, there has been no physical confrontation, no diss track, and no escalation beyond the online exchange. Lil Baby has stayed silent, and both rappers went back to their regularly scheduled programming. So was it all nothing? Not exactly. Strip away the memes, and what happened here was a stress test the whole industry got to watch, where a rising writer placed a feather on a scale, and the scale screamed. Offset's reaction was never really about Rylo Rodriguez. It was about a gambling file the internet refuses to close, a shooting that made the file physical, an old rumor wearing 4PF colors, and a grief that turned dice games from a pastime into a scar. 10 words found all of that in a single throw, which makes it either the luckiest bar of 2026 or the most precise, and knowing Rylo's pen, luck had very little to do with it. Offset lost the exchange the moment he entered it, because the only losing move was playing, while Rylo won it the moment he answered with a shrug, because calm is the currency of every internet beef. And the footage in the title, the thing that pulled you here, turned out to be the most modern kind of footage there is. Not a fight caught on camera, but a man fighting himself in public, one Instagram story at a time, while the whole world screen recorded it. Drop your verdict in the comments. Tell us whether that bar was a diss or a flex, and let us know who you got if it ever does reach the booth. And stay locked in, because in this era, silence keeps all targets exposed, and somebody out here is always talking.